There are a couple of words that are widely used in the Scrum world, but they are not part of Scrum. If you want to experience professional Scrum, your language and terminology are truly important as they bring transparency, shape your way of communication, and on top of them, create your work culture. In this video, I'm gonna mention the most famous misused words in the Scrum world and explain why we shouldn't use them. So stay with me. Let's get started with ceremony. Ceremony is the misused word for Scrum event. In Scrum, there are 5 events: sprint, sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. All of them are opportunities for inspection and adaptation. When I checked the Longman dictionary, I got these definitions for ceremony: an important social or religious occasion when a traditional set of actions is performed in a formal way, like a wedding ceremony or a funeral ceremony. On the other hand, I have found this description for event in the dictionary: something that happens, especially something important, interesting, or unusual, plus a performance, sports competition, party, etc., at which people gather together to watch or take part in something. If this is your first time here, I'm Mehdi with Professional Mind Coaching. Everything I do is designed to help IT professionals create a high-performing identity. So if you are enjoying the content so far, it would be a huge help if you hit subscribe and like buttons right now, as it really helps to get our content out there. As I see, there are 2 main differences between a ceremony and an event. First, a ceremony is a formal and official gathering, while an event is usually informal, energetic, and has a sense of excitement. Second, a ceremony has usually predefined rigid rituals, and its result is already clear to all participants, while an event is a gathering, usually with freedom in structure, and the result is created in the event, not before it, based on the participants' way of interactions. Now, let's map these definitions with the Scrum world. The team morale, happiness, and energy level in a Scrum team is an important factor. More than that, every Scrum event is an opportunity to discover and learn something new. They are not predictable, but when you learn something new and experience progress, you naturally feel happy and energetic. In addition, if you read the Scrum guide, you will see that there isn't any prescription about the format of conducting events. In fact, Scrum teams have the freedom to create their own structure of doing events as long as they do the inspection and adaptation effectively. So think with yourself, if you wanted to choose the ceremony or event word for the inspection and adaptation gatherings in Scrum, which one would you choose? Absolutely event. Grooming is the misused word for refinement. As I have checked the Scrum Guide history of changes, the product backlog grooming practice was added to it in version 2011. However, in version 2013, the co-creators of Scrum replaced it with refinement. They said the product backlog is refined rather than groomed. In fact, product backlog refinement is the act of breaking down and further defining product backlog items into smaller, more precise items. It is an ongoing activity to add details and increase transparency. But it seems grooming doesn't express the whole purpose of refinement. The Cambridge Dictionary defines grooming in this way: the things that you do to make your appearance clean and neat, for example, brushing your hair, or the things that you do to keep an animal's hair or fur clean and neat. Its focus is more on appearance, removing defects and making things acceptable, while the aim of refinement is to provide a better understanding of the product backlog items and help the team to constantly have an actionable product backlog, not just a superficial makeup. In another part, again in the same dictionary, you see this definition: the criminal activity of becoming friends with a child, especially over the internet, in order to try to persuade the child to have a sexual relationship, which radiates a bad and negative meaning of the word. As I explained at the beginning of the video, words and terminology are important as they finally will be part of your work culture. Be honest with yourself. Why should we use words that are kind of doubtful and not in complete harmony with our intentions? Methodology is the misused word for framework, but what is the difference between these two words? A methodology is a set of principles, tools, and practices which can be used to guide processes to achieve a particular goal. Usually, there is a prescriptive approach in a methodology that tends to replace the creativity, autonomy, and thinking of people. A framework is a boundary which leaves room for other practices and tools to be included, but provides much of the process required. Usually, a framework is an abstract process with the freedom of selecting and using other concrete processes and practices in it. Bear in mind that it doesn't mean a framework is better than a methodology or the other way around. Indeed, the context defines which would work better. So, don't be a fanatic person for one of these concepts. Choose them with conscious awareness based on the context in which they are supposed to be used. Based on the definition, Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. The Scrum framework is purposefully incomplete, only defining the parts required to implement Scrum theory. So, the Scrum team on its own defines how it wants to create value through a variety of practices and tools. Therefore, Scrum is a framework, not a methodology, technique, tool, or practice. Commit is the misused word for forecast. In fact, commitment is a word that has been used in several places in a Scrum guide. Let's first review them. First, commitment in a Scrum values. It says the Scrum team commits to achieving its goals and to supporting each other. Second, commit in developers part. It says developers are the people in the Scrum team that are committed to creating any aspect of a usable increment each sprint. And third, artifact commitments. It says each artifact contains a commitment to ensure it provides information that enhances transparency and focus against which progress can be measured. But I meant none of them. My aim is the word that is used to show that developers must promise and commit to finishing and completing all the selected work for the sprint by the end of the sprint. First of all, the change from commit to forecast terminology happened in Scrum Guide version 2011. The very text of this change in the scrumguides.org website says, Development teams do not commit to completing the work planned during a sprint planning meeting. The development team creates a forecast of work it believes will be done, but that forecast will change as more becomes known throughout the sprint. Now, let's talk about the why behind the change. You know that the Scrum team is supposed to work in a complex environment with unknowns and uncertainties. So, by forecast, the team gets an opportunity to deal with uncertainties based on learnings throughout the sprint without sacrificing quality, being under constant pressure, or finishing the product backlog items with any price. If they couldn't finish all the selected PBIs, there isn't any type of blame. However, there is a possibility for the negative impact of using forecast where the team may find it difficult to get used to the new term of forecast because they used to work in a mindset of commitment. In addition, it could have a danger in which the team thinks it can happily get relaxed and doesn't use its best to meet the sprint goal and create done increment. But be direct with yourself. When we work in complex domains with a lot of unknowns, how can we commit to delivering selected product backlog items by the end of the sprint? The word commitment has an inherent obligation and promise meaning, which can be easily misused, while the word forecast doesn't have this internal meaning and brings a sphere in which people feel safe and can work based on experimentation, continuous improvement, and empiricism. Hopefully, this dissection has given you a good understanding of why those changes happened, and we also should remove the misused words from our daily communication language. In the future, I will record the second part of this video elaborating on other misused words. If you want me to talk about any specific word that you have a problem with its understanding, write them in the comment section below. I will put them in the word list of the next video.